now call upon our president, Gerald Park.
At least we know the air conditioning system is still working. Rabbi Hammerman, the Chazan, and I promise you a program like this every Friday evening and Shabbat morning if you promise us your attendance. Welcome to our guests, visitors, friends, and congregants on this very special and beautiful evening. As in the continuity of the reading of the Torah, when we finish its annual reading, we immediately commence its rereading and study. So tonight, we celebrate and honor continuity at Bethel. Our thanks to the installation committee, headed by Carol and Alan Coulter, for their efforts. Normally, even at efficient Bethel, we often need a committee to form a committee. In this case, committee support was eager and overwhelming. I know a fundraising committee that looks forward to the same level of support. There are followers, but few leaders. There are bureaucrats by the multitudes, but builders by the handful. Opinion holders as variable as the breeze, few steadfast in position, and wise friends are always cherished. Rabbi Goldman has been a friend and spiritual leader to many of us for decades. He has built a thriving Jewish community here at Bethel. His wisdom and insight, which are best garnered and appreciated in private moments of happiness and sadness, are special to all of us. I have been especially fortunate in having repeatedly gathered and garnered his wisdom through an occasional and sometimes constant whisper on the bima about Torah or a rich life experience. We look forward to Rabbi Goldman's continued participation in our varied and diverse congregation and community life. Rabbi Goldman.
Certainly this evening is unique, different, special. Tonight we celebrate many things. We celebrate time. We celebrate the installation of a new rabbi. We celebrate the spirit of our tradition. We celebrate life. We celebrate Jewish life as well. A writer once noted that the present is the spinning wheel, the past is the thread that is spun, and the future is the wool for men to weave their years. Rabbi Hammerman, from tonight on, will weave the years of his service as senior rabbi of this congregation. It's not the today, it's not the tonight, but the cumulative past, which establishes a new era for the temple. In one of the most climactic dramas and scenes, we incorporate on the high holidays, sung at that time as magnificently and beautifully as the choir sang tonight, the prayer in the sonnet Tokef, that one asks God for the coming year, prays for life, prays for health, and prays for strength. There are beautiful words which are so applicable to this Shabbat Eve. As the worshiper prays to God, he asks, the book of remembrance is open. The record in the book tells the story, and everyone puts his stamp, a signature on that book. It speaks to me not only of people, of worshipers, of individuals. It speaks of a synagogue, and it speaks of rabbis who lead the synagogue. Every rabbi impresses his stamp on the synagogue and the people he serves. And that stamp reflects his background, his philosophy, his capacity, his views, his strength, his insight, his creativity. And every rabbi has his own vision and his own perspective as to how the synagogue must operate and how the people must be served. And every rabbi serves in a different time frame, in time, in history, in Jewish history, and in the history of the community. So that generations, that word which is utilized on the program, that word comes into play and into focus as the book of remembrance is opened. And the theme recorded on your programs from generation to generation speaks of the continuity of our heritage, as Jerry mentioned. It's like the runner in the Olympics who's already running while the previous runner runs his heart out and reaches out his stick in hand and cries out to him, "Here, take the stick. It's your turn to run now. It's your turn, Josh, to run now." The generations we speak of. And there are many generations which comprise the history of this synagogue. Generation 1, Rabbi Max Arzt, one of American Jewry's most distinguished scholars and dynamic rabbis, leader in the conservative movement, vice chancellor of the seminary. 70 years ago, this was his first poem. A decade of organization came into play, meeting at the Hebrew Institute on Grey Rock Place, and now the locale of the Stamford Mall. How different is the scene today. Many of us here, I see, third and fourth generations of people who belonged then are here tonight and part of this congregation. Then a generation number 2, Rabbi Maurice Mazur, who in 1928 presided over the building, erection, and dedication of the first Temple Bethel on Prospect Street, across from the donut shop, some of you may remember. Rabbi Haas followed him until 1936, when Rabbi David Perlman, serving here during 29 years, during the Holocaust, during the World War, during the period in which Israel was created, a man whose interfaith relations with the clergy and the community was legion and still is. And a few weeks ago, I found a letter which Jack Wofsy sent to our congregation in August of 1966, announcing the beginning of my tenure here at Temple Bethel, a quarter of a century ago. It was much different, a different style, a different congregation. It had to move. It had to move to the right, and it did. And for years, we sought a medium of the faith, conservative Judaism, which was ours. 7 years later, in 1973, 10 days before the Yom Kippur War, we moved into this structure, into this building. Our membership required it. We had grown. We had to provide facilities, and we did. And then now, some years later, we move to another era, to another generation, assuming its role and impact on the congregation. 2 weeks ago in Washington, driving in the center of the Capitol, I saw on one of the large structures in the capital city an engraving on the top of a structure. The past is the prologue. The past is the prologue, it said, and the past is the prologue. 5 years ago, months before the temple began its search for an assistant rabbi to serve the larger and expanded congregation, I met Rabbi Hammerman, and our contact was chemistry. There was a chemistry between us. The bond was instantaneous, and so it has remained. And 5 years have passed now, and its impact on the congregation, on the temple, on the membership, the community, the Jewish community, has been profound. And the time comes now, as one rabbi said in the Talmud, God showed Adam each generation with its leaders. And so we showed this coming generation's leadership. A synagogue in Denver wrote a theme, remembering the past and celebrating the future. And we celebrate our future tonight as we open another book, another congregational document. All of us here are opening a book for you to write in, for you to record, for the temple, for history, for Jewish history, and for the community as well. Your impact so far, as we have judged, all of us, testified to by this massive attendance, reflecting appreciation, is stirring. Your task now is to continue that initial impact on the community, and you will. Not I install you, or not I alone install you. All the rabbis, all the leaders, all the history, of this synagogue, the 70 years, they all converge to this moment. And all of us, this whole past, says to you now, happily and proudly, we install you as senior rabbi of Temple Beth. You and I know, Josh, that in the Bible, as we've read often together, the Bible speaks of two leaders, Moses and Joshua. Throughout the Bible, the last 4 books, time and again, Moses working together with Joshua in companionship, in rapport, with a strong bond. And every time Moses spoke to Joshua, you know, he said to Joshua, Chazak ve'amas, be strong and of good courage. I'm not a Moses, to be sure, but certainly those words are telling, and they are imbibing with profound faith and trust. All of us pray that God give you strength and courage as you move forward. Begin your book. It's your turn. Happily, we give it to you. So it is that with prayers, deep prayers that we all feel, for your future, prayers for health and strength and courage, which you must have, and with words of Mazal Tov to Mara, your mother, the whole family who must be very proud, I ask now the congregation to join me in saying a prayer which we always offer when a major event in life is experienced. A prayer captioned under the words, Shehecheyanu. I ask the congregation to join me in saying that prayer as we install you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyimanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh.
O Lord, my God and God of our ancestors, who renews creation day after day, renew my spirit. May all my deeds reflect your glory. May all my thoughts lead to your service. May I yearn for you and trust in you. May it be your will, O Lord, that I never debase your teaching nor misrepresent it to others, that I never utter a word to dishonor you or your people Israel. Teach me your way, and I will declare your wonders. Put falsehood far from me. Grace me with your Torah. Protect me from emptiness. Sustain me with your teaching. May the words of your Torah, O Lord, be sweet in my mouth and in the mouth of your people Israel. May we, our children, and all the children of the house of Israel revere you and study your Torah with devotion. Let us all say, when the idea of this installation began to evolve several months ago, I mentioned to Alan Coulter, our co-chair, that the focus of this evening should not be on any one person, but instead on Bethel itself, its place in the general community and in the Jewish world, its sense of itself as a family, and its dreams for the future. That's why it's so important that all of you be here to celebrate with us this evening. Why we appreciate the presence this evening of our Congressman Chris Shays and our Mayor Stanley Esposito. Our vision is one of unity and common good, and your efforts enable that vision to become reality. We share this vision with our neighbors in the religious community, which is why it's so important that Reverend Brenda Stiers is here representing the Council of Churches and Synagogues, as well as many of my friends and colleagues of the clergy. Your wisdom and support have inspired me and strengthened me since I first arrived 5 years ago. And I have learned firsthand that so much more unites us than divides us. Our congregation does not live within a vacuum. In the Jewish community, we never have. We've always been among the most eager to make those special sacrifices necessary for the common good. And never before has this Jewish community been so united. I'm so appreciative of the support of our most unique and nationally renowned group of rabbis and cantors, leadership of our Jewish Federation and our Jewish Community Center, the Jewish Family Service, and all the other community organizations, both Jewish and non-sectarian, represented here tonight. Bethel is part of the world of conservative Judaism as well. Rabbi Joel Myers, Executive Vice President of the Rabbinical Assembly, has asked me to send his personal greetings. The presence of all these groups allows us to reaffirm our commitment that our synagogue exists for the benefit of all with whom we share this small and precious patch of earth. Special note of thanks to those within the Temple family who have entrusted me to lead them, our Men's Club and Sisterhood leadership, our Board of Trustees, President Jerry Pock, who has, over the past year or two, become a close friend as well as president, and my colleagues on the professional staff, our custodians, our administrators, our educators, Azan Rabinowitz, who has taught us all the meaning of pure devotion, not only to one's God, but to the idea of excellence in one's work, and Rabbi Goldman, the man responsible for bringing this congregation to where it is today, and for bringing this rabbi to Stamford. We are fortunate indeed that we will still be able to draw from his wisdom and experience in the years ahead. And this being a moment when the destiny of a community and a person intersect, I welcome this evening those who have accompanied me along my journey, personal friends, relatives from near and far, Mom, who's always been there when I've needed her, my wife Mara, who through her love, guidance, and support actually serves as this congregation's co-rabbi. Only nobody knows that yet, and given the current political climate, I'll keep it quiet for a moment. And a little boy upstairs or outside, I heard him, I think, who's waiting for Daddy to finish so he can come in, see lots of people, and then go back to the important things in life, apple juice and Barney the dinosaur. Finally, my late father, a cantor who served the Boston Jewish community so diligently for over 30 years, yet who never let his work keep him from those he loved most, who wanted nothing more than for his son to become a rabbi. He would have counted this among his most proud moments. You want to know how rabbinical careers get started? I can recall one Hanukkah. I was about 12. My dad got us tickets, front row seats, to see the Bruins at the Boston Garden. And I was so excited, but we had to make one stop before going to the game. A stop on the way at a VA hospital in Chelsea to light Hanukkah candles for the patients there. By the time we got to Boston Garden, We missed the first period, but I didn't mind. That kind of thing was rather normal for my childhood. A night out with Dad, smiling patience and Bobby Orr, all in the same evening. Who could complain? Rabbi Gerald Zellermeyer of Hartford wrote a very warm note. He grew up in Boston as well, and he said, "Your Hammerman heritage is almost a legend. I am sure the rafters in some region will be ringing the night of your installation." First time I spoke from this pulpit as your assistant rabbi 5 years ago, I began with a verse from the book of Ecclesiastes. "A new friend is like new wine. When it has aged, you will drink it with pleasure." I said at the time, "Thank you, Ecclesiastes. I guess that makes me grape juice." But good grape juice, kosher. I'm tempted to say now, after 5 years, that at least we've reached the level of Manischewitz. Real wine. But getting there. Manischewitz, maybe, but getting there. But in another sense, we're back to grape juice again. Faces are the same, people are the same, but things have changed. The relationship has changed. The responsibilities have changed. The temple itself has changed. Change is very hard to adjust to, even when the agent of change is a familiar face, and especially when it affects the one area of life we would like to think remains stable in a crazy world, the area of religion. After a quarter century of stable and good leadership, it requires the utmost of patience and sensitivity on all sides to allow another way to evolve. And Bethel will evolve, as all things, including religion, must evolve. And we will grow older together. As Rabbi Sam Silver, ironically of Stamford, wrote in a letter to the editor responding to the article that's in your program, "Wait, being a young rabbi is one problem that will most assuredly go away." As will being a new rabbi. I was sitting with my colleague Mark Olive over lunch not long ago, and he gave me the best advice that I have heard regarding my new venture. He said, "The past 5 years have been a gift, because I've been able to observe my congregation not from the perspective of a pulpit leader, but rather from that of a congregant. Remember what it's like to be out there," he told me, "in the pews." And I agree. We religious leaders tend to forget the feeling of being out there.